Have you ever felt like you're running on a treadmill with no end? Work, commitments, worries? It seems that no matter how hard you try, there's always something more demanding your attention. And in the midst of all this hustle, where does inner peace fit in? Where do you find that moment of silence and connection with yourself? If you've ever asked yourself these questions, know that you're not alone. Many people around the world are searching for answers to this very question. How to find peace in such a chaotic world? Today we're going to explore something powerful and transformative: how Buddhism can help you achieve inner peace. This isn't just another video about spirituality, it's an invitation to transform the way you see the world and, most importantly, how you live your life. Imagine finding peace even in the midst of chaos. Yes, it's possible, and Buddhism can be your compass on this journey. We live in an accelerated world where external demands often pull us away from who we truly are. We're constantly connected to devices, social media, and commitments, but disconnected from ourselves. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, "Why do I feel so tired, even though I haven't done anything extraordinary today?" Or perhaps, "Why does it feel like no matter how much I do, it's never enough?" These feelings of disconnection and dissatisfaction are signs that we need to pause and look within. But imagine for a moment that the solution to all of this isn't outside, but within you. Buddhism, with its ancient teachings, offers practical tools to transform not only how you see the world but how you live your entire existence. It teaches us that inner peace doesn't depend on external circumstances, but on how we choose to respond to them. In this video, we'll dive into 4 essential steps that can guide you toward inner peace. First, we'll explore the concept of impermanence and how it can shift your perspective on life. Next, we'll delve into the practice of mindfulness to help you live in the present moment. Then we'll discuss the importance of compassion, for both yourself and others. Finally, we'll talk about how letting go of attachment can bring freedom and tranquility into your life. If you're seeking self-awareness, looking to reduce stress, or wanting to learn more about Buddhist teachings, this content was made especially for you. Here you'll find deep reflections, inspiring stories, and practical exercises that you can apply in your daily life. Before we begin, I'd like to make a special request. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, click the subscribe button now. That way you won't miss any of our content on spirituality, Zen stories, and practices that can transform your life. Plus, by subscribing, you'll become part of a community that values learning, wisdom, and personal growth. Together, we can create a space where everyone can find inspiration and inner peace. So, take a deep breath, relax, and let's embark on this journey of wisdom and transformation together. Remember, every step we take towards self-awareness brings us closer to the peace we all seek. Understand the concept of impermanence, anicca. Imagine this. You're holding a hot cup of coffee in your hands. The steam rises gently, and the aroma envelopes the air around you. You feel that magical moment as if everything is perfect. But within a few minutes, the coffee cools down, the steam disappears, and that special feeling dissolves into the air. This is the power of impermanence, the universal truth that everything changes. Nothing remains exactly as it is. In Buddhism, this concept is known as anicca. It reminds us that everything around us is in constant transformation. The seasons change, flowers bloom and wither, our emotions come and go. Even the human body, so familiar to us, is in a continuous process of renewal. However, we often suffer because we resist this truth. We want happy moments to last forever and difficult ones to pass quickly. This resistance to change only generates more suffering. But what if, instead of fighting against impermanence, you embraced it? Accepting that everything is temporary doesn't mean resignation or giving up. On the contrary, it's a form of liberation. When we understand that nothing lasts forever, we begin to value the present moment more. That intense sadness that seems unbearable? It will also pass. That joy you want to hold on to with all your strength? Even if it changes, it will still have been worth it. To illustrate this, think of a cloud in the sky. Sometimes it's dense and dark, bringing storms. Other times it's light and white, decorating the blue sky. But regardless of its form, the cloud never stops changing. If we try to fix it in our minds as something permanent, we'll become frustrated. However, when we accept its mutable nature, we can appreciate it for what it is, without expectations. A simple practice to integrate this concept into your daily life is to observe the changes around you. When you wake up, notice how the sunlight changes throughout the day. In the morning, it might be soft and golden, while in the afternoon, it becomes more intense and bright. Or reflect on how you yourself have changed over the years, your ideas, your desires, your perceptions. Maybe you used to love parties and now prefer quiet nights at home. Or perhaps you've overcome a fear that once seemed insurmountable. Every change, no matter how small, is living proof of impermanence. Another practical suggestion is to create a change journal. Every day, write down something you noticed as temporary. It could be something simple like the sound of birds in the morning or the smell of flowers in the garden. By recording these moments, you'll be training your mind to recognize and appreciate impermanence. Over time, this practice will help you cultivate a lighter, more flexible, and resilient mindset. Remember, impermanence is not something to fear. It's the essence of life, and by embracing it, we find a clearer path to inner peace. As an ancient Zen proverb says, "The flower that blooms today has already begun to wither." This is no reason for sadness, but for admiration. The beauty of the flower lies precisely in its brevity. Have you ever stopped to think about how many things have changed in your life in the past few months? And what if we could find beauty in change instead of resisting it? I invite you to pause and observe something around you that is changing at this very moment. It could be the sound of the wind, the sunlight, or even your own breathing. Share in the comments what your experience was like. Cultivate mindfulness. Now pause for a moment and think, when was the last time you truly paid attention to what you were doing? I'm not talking about multitasking, working while watching TV, eating while scrolling on your phone, or replying to messages while talking to someone. I'm talking about being fully present in the here and now. When was the last time you simply stopped to savor the taste of food in your mouth, to listen to the sound of the wind rustling through the trees, or to observe the vibrant colors of a flower? This is the essence of mindfulness or mindfulness. A concept deeply rooted in Buddhist teachings. Mindfulness is about being completely immersed in the present moment without judgment. It's about feeling every breath, every movement, every sensation. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But in practice, we often find that our mind is far from where our body is. Often, our mind is preoccupied with the past, dwelling on memories, regrets, or nostalgia, or projecting into the future, creating expectations and worries. This constant oscillation between what has already happened and what has yet to occur prevents us from experiencing the richness of the present moment. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, what if I had done things differently? Or what's going to happen tomorrow? Meanwhile, the present slips through our fingers like fine sand. The practice of mindfulness invites us to return to the now. It can be as simple as paying attention to your breathing. Feel the air gently entering and leaving through your nose. Or notice the sounds around you, the chirping of birds, the wind in the trees, the sound of your own voice as you speak. When you dedicate yourself to these moments of full presence, something magical happens. The mind calms down and the heart finds space for peace. Let me share a Zen story that powerfully illustrates this. Once, a disciple asked the master, "How can I attain enlightenment?" The master replied, "When you eat, eat. When you walk, walk. Do nothing else." This simplicity is the core of mindfulness, being fully immersed in whatever you are doing. Imagine how transformative it would be to apply this philosophy in your daily life. For example, when washing dishes, instead of thinking about the next task, focus on the feeling of the water running over your hands, the scent of the soap, and the clean shine of the dishes. When walking, notice the contact of your feet with the ground, the movement of your arms, and the rhythm of your breathing. To get started, try setting aside a few minutes each day to practice mindfulness. It could be during a meal, observing the flavors and textures of the food, or while washing dishes, feeling the water flow over your hands. Another practical suggestion is to create a mindfulness ritual. Choose a daily activity, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, or even preparing a cup of tea, and turn it into a mindful practice. During these moments, set aside distractions like your phone or TV and focus solely on what you're doing. A metaphor that can help you understand mindfulness is to imagine your mind as a river. Sometimes it flows wildly, full of rocks and obstacles. Other times, it flows smoothly and calmly. Practicing mindfulness is like observing the river without trying to change its current. You don't need to control the flow, you just need to be present to witness its natural beauty. Over time, this practice will become natural, helping you cultivate a constant sense of calm and clarity. Remember, mindfulness is not something you achieve all at once. It's an ongoing process, like learning to swim or play an instrument. Every small effort counts. When was the last time you truly paused to feel the present? And what if we could transform simple tasks into moments of peace and connection? I invite you to choose a simple activity today, like having breakfast or walking to work, and practice mindfulness. Share in the comments how your experience went. Develop compassion for yourself and others. How often have you been hard on yourself? Perhaps because of a mistake you made, not achieving a goal, or simply because you didn't feel good enough. We are often our own harshest critics, and this can distance us from inner peace. Pause for a moment and reflect. When was the last time you truly treated yourself with kindness? When was the last time you forgave yourself for something you consider a failure? In Buddhism, compassion, or karuna, is an active practice of empathy and kindness, both toward others and ourselves. It teaches us that we all face the same difficulties, suffering, uncertainty, the search for happiness. By recognizing our shared humanity, we can treat ourselves with more kindness. After all, we are all travelers on this journey called life, facing challenges and learning from them. The practice of self-compassion begins with forgiveness. Forgive yourself for the mistakes you believe you've made. Remember that you are constantly learning, growing, and evolving. No one is born knowing everything, and every stumble is an opportunity to learn something new. Imagine yourself as a student in the school of life. If a student fails a test, they don't give up, they try again. Similarly, when we make mistakes, we should give ourselves the chance to start over without punishing ourselves excessively. When we treat ourselves with kindness, we create space to accept others as they are, without judgment. Think about it. Just as you wish to be understood and forgiven, others also have their internal struggles. Perhaps that distant coworker is dealing with personal difficulties. Or maybe a friend who hasn't replied to your message is struggling with their own emotional challenges. When we practice compassion, we begin to see the world with softer eyes, understanding that we are all doing the best we can with the tools we have. A powerful practice to cultivate compassion is metta meditation, or unconditional love meditation. During this practice, you repeat phrases like, "May I be happy. May I be safe. May I live in peace." Then expand these wishes to others. May my loved ones be happy. May strangers find peace. May even those I have conflicts with be free from suffering. This simple yet profound practice helps dissolve emotional barriers and create genuine connections with the world around you. Imagine each thought of compassion as a small seed planted in the garden of your mind. Over time, these seeds grow and bloom, transforming your heart into a place of kindness and harmony. To make this practice even more accessible, you can start with small daily gestures. For example, when you wake up, dedicate a few minutes to think about someone you love and mentally send them wishes of happiness. Or during the day, when you encounter someone going through a tough moment, offer a sincere smile or a word of support. These small acts of kindness may seem insignificant, but they have the power to transform both your life and the lives of others. A metaphor that can help understand compassion is imagining yourself as a river. Just as the river flows and nourishes the land around it, compassion flows from within you and touches the lives of those around you. When you practice compassion, you create waves of positivity that spread throughout the world. Ultimately, when we open ourselves to compassion, we realize that inner peace is not something we seek in isolation. It blossoms when we are in harmony with others. As an ancient Zen proverb says, when you light the way for another, you also illuminate your own path. When was the last time you allowed yourself to be kind to yourself? And what if we could transform our inner criticisms into words of encouragement? I invite you to practice metta meditation today. Dedicate just 5 minutes to sending wishes of happiness and peace to yourself and others. Then share in the comments how your experience went. Let go of attachment and find freedom. Finally, let's talk about something that often holds us captive: attachment. In Buddhism, attachment is considered one of the main causes of human suffering. When we cling too tightly to people, objects, ideas, or even certain emotions, we create expectations that can lead to frustration when things don't go as planned. How many times have you felt disappointed because something didn't happen exactly as you expected? Or perhaps you've clung to a situation or relationship, even though you knew it no longer brought you happiness? Attachment can be an invisible prison, but it can also be liberating when we learn to see it differently. But here it's important to clarify, letting go of attachment doesn't mean rejecting the world or becoming indifferent. On the contrary, it's about appreciating things without clinging to them. It means loving without suffocating, possessing without controlling, and living without trying to force life to follow our plans. Imagine you're holding a bird in your hands. If you squeeze it too tightly, it might get hurt or even die. But if you gently open your hands and let it fly, it will stay there for a moment, and you can admire its beauty before it continues on its way. This balance between care and detachment is essential for living with more peace. A Zen teaching powerfully illustrates this. Hold a glass of water too tightly, and it may slip and break. Hold it lightly, and it will remain in your hand. This simple metaphor reminds us that the way we relate to the world can determine our inner peace. When we cling to things rigidly, we create tension and suffering. But when we approach life with lightness and flexibility, we find space for freedom. To practice detachment in daily life, start by observing your emotional reactions. When something doesn't go as you expected, ask yourself, am I suffering because I'm overly attached to this idea or outcome? Try to release that need for control and accept situations as they are. This doesn't mean you should abandon your goals, but rather approach them with an open and flexible mind. For example, imagine you're planning a trip. You've chosen the perfect destination, booked the dream hotel, and organized every detail. But on the day of travel, your flight is canceled due to bad weather. Instead of getting frustrated or blaming others, you can use this moment to explore alternatives. Who knows, a new adventure might arise in place of the one you had imagined. Another useful practice is simplifying your life. Let go of objects that no longer bring value, negative thoughts that limit you, and relationships that don't contribute to your well-being. Maybe you have clothes in your closet that you haven't worn in years but keep out of nostalgia. Or perhaps you've held on to an old grudge that only weighs heavy on your heart. By doing this, you create space for what truly matters, genuine connections, present moments, and a deep sense of freedom. Imagine your life as a house. If it's full of old, unnecessary things, there's no room for new experiences and opportunities. But by cleaning and organizing, you create a welcoming environment for the new to enter. A practical suggestion to begin is dedicating a few minutes each day to reflect on something you're attached to. It could be an object, a goal, a person, or even an emotion. Ask yourself, is this attachment bringing me happiness, or is it causing me suffering? If the answer is suffering, try to let go of that attachment, even if just a little. Over time, this practice will become more natural, helping you cultivate a lighter mind and a freer heart. When we learn to live without attachment, we realize that true inner peace doesn't depend on external conditions. It arises from within, regardless of circumstances. As a Buddhist proverb says, the flower that blooms today has already begun to wither. The beauty of life lies in its impermanence, and by embracing this, we find freedom. When was the last time you felt frustrated because something didn't go as planned? And what if we could find freedom by letting go of what holds us back? I invite you to identify an attachment in your life, whether it's an object, an idea, or an emotion, and try to let it go, even if just for a brief moment. Then share in the comments how your experience went. We have reached the end of this journey, but I hope this is just the beginning of your personal exploration of how Buddhism can help you find inner peace. Today we delve together into deep reflections and transformative practices, exploring 4 essential steps that can guide your next moments of self-discovery. First, we talked about the importance of understanding impermanence and embracing life's changes. We learned that everything around us is in constant transformation, and by accepting this truth, we can find beauty in the present moment and freedom in the flow of life. Next, we explored the practice of mindfulness to live in the here and now. We discovered that being fully present is an invitation to experience the richness of small moments that we often let pass unnoticed. Then we reflected on compassion, both for ourselves and others, as a bridge to more genuine connections and a more harmonious life. Finally, we discussed how letting go of attachment can bring us freedom and tranquility, allowing us to live with lightness and flexibility. These teachings are not magical formulas, but practical tools that can transform the way you see the world and relate to yourself. Remember, inner peace is not a final destination, but a continuous path of growth and self-discovery. It's like tending to a garden. It needs attention, patience, and dedication to flourish. Every step you take in this direction, no matter how small, already makes a big difference. If this video touched your heart or brought new perspectives to your life, share it with someone who might also benefit from these reflections. Perhaps a stressed friend or someone searching for answers to their inner questions may find inspiration here. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, click the subscribe button now. That way you won't miss any of our content on spirituality, Zen stories, and Buddhist teachings. Together we can create a community of learning and inspiration, where everyone can find support and wisdom. Finally, I leave you with a quote from the Buddha for us to reflect on. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it outside. These simple yet profound words remind us that true transformation begins within ourselves. May you find that peace within yourself, one step at a time. No matter how far the path may seem, remember that every small action counts. A moment of presence, a gesture of compassion, an act of letting go, all of this contributes to a more balanced and meaningful life. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Your presence is a gift, and knowing that these words might touch your life fills me with gratitude. Until the next video, I wish you a journey full of light, serenity, and wonderful discoveries. What will you do today to take the next step toward inner peace? How can these teachings transform your life from now on? Before we close, I'd like to make a special request. If this video brought something valuable to you, leave a comment below sharing what your biggest learning or insight was. Your contribution may inspire others to embark on this journey as well. Also, don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs this message today. Together we can spread more peace and wisdom throughout the world.